We have a massive power, and it's the power to say no.
2024 is the year when the pushback begins in earnest.
People ain't seen nothing yet. That's what I keep telling people.
It is a master-servant relationship where we, the governed, are the masters.
Doctors are gaslighting patients.
You press down enough on people for long enough, you leave them no choice but to rebel.
So, no, I don't want to forget about it, and I won't shut up about COVID.
The story of the unvaccinated is still yet to be told.
We are one people, one flag, one Australia.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the XCandidates. My name is Stephen Tripp, joined by Mr. Adam Zara. Now, Adam, what's that say down the bottom of your name there? Independent for Campbelltown. What's all that about, mate?
Well, I'm looking to run for council. So we're going to do the local government elections, and we'll try and see if we can't make a change from the ground up. Because, it is exciting. I've been approached by a few councillors, and honestly, for the lack of a better kind of way of putting it, like the left is going to take over Campbelltown Council. That's what's being predicted. And do we want the crazy left, the lunatic left, taking over council? Campbelltown's been pretty good, I think. With
the upside is that you'll get a lot of drag queen story times and that sort of stuff happening. Maybe they can hold it in the arts theatre that they built that cost a fortune. Nothing ever happens there.
Yeah, and then they got another fortune to revamp it. I mean, it's just... Look, I mean, I want to really just figure out what council have, as in what they can do and what they can't do, because I've heard stories now where, and we saw this with Cumberland Council recently, that the state government was going to cut funding because they were going to try and ban a book from the libraries. Okay, so are councils really in charge of what they're meant to be, or are they just lackeys for what the state government want? That's an interesting thing, right? That gets me. You see on TV shows, or I know it's TV, but we learn a lot from those. The mayor of you see a mayor in America. He's talking to the chief of police, and there's he's got a big control over everything, and Mr. Mayor this and Mr. Mayor that, and councillor this and councillor that, and they seem to have a fair bit of independence and whatnot. But seems to be that that the councils in Australia are a bit neutered by the state government.
We're very ad hoc. Sorry. I'm trying to work out if we're live on Instagram or not. I can't work this stuff out, but we should be live on Instagram. I don't know why it's not showing up, but
let me on Insta.
Yeah, maybe just check for me, Adam. But we obviously I've let everyone know in the last couple of episodes. But if you haven't been up to date with what we're doing, YouTube deleted one of our episodes. It was an episode with Tony Nikolic back in October of 2022, believe it or not. How ridiculous is that? I don't even know how the algorithms, maybe someone reported it or something, I'm not sure, but all the way back to October 22, they deleted the video, and they banned us from streaming on their platform. So we've moved over to Instagram, and it has been working, but it just doesn't seem to have popped up this time around. Have you got it going, Adam?
No, I can't see why. I can't see it on here either. I haven't got a notification.
Yeah, okay. If not, we're coming live on Rumble and also Facebook. Facebook hasn't quite banned us yet, but it's been a very busy week and a very ad hoc week. And I'm reminded of an interview that I did with Victor DL on his platform a couple of months ago. And he started the interview off by saying, the paradox of podcasting is that even though it's your podcast, you don't get a real chance to, get on your soapbox or really flesh out your own thoughts, because you're always interviewing someone else. So we thought that stuff the interviews tonight. We'll just have a discussion amongst the two of us, and we'll also include our faithful audience that always watch us. I'll put the link in the chat very, very shortly if you want to call in and ask us a question, or you can as always, put the comments in the chat and ask us a question through there. We'll be happy to answer anything. We might not be able to answer all your questions, but we'll give it a shot anyway. I'll put the link in the chat right now. But Adam, what's been happening in your world, mate?
Well, as I was saying when just on the intro there, just we're starting to get ready to run for council. So that's the biggest thing that's happening for me at the moment. I guess it's about getting back into campaign mode, which I'm reminded from other episodes, that I think we need reluctant leaders. They don't want to be leaders, but they're gonna be leaders because no one else is gonna bloody do it. And I actually feel like I fit that category pretty well this time. I think the first time I ran federally, we had a really exciting, we had something to run for. Like, it was the COVID era. It was, mandates were happening, people were losing their jobs, and you just had a reason to run. So there was no getting tired or no getting too busy at work or anything like that. It was a more important thing to do. And then state-wise, still had a bit of that taste in my mouth from COVID, and so I wanted to run again, and we went pretty well in federal, and I just wanted to see what it was like again to run state. And but now I think now with all this different stuff, I feel like that the globalists are starting to come in through the local council and local governments as well, with a lot of infrastructure going in, like cameras everywhere, surveillance cameras everywhere. And, and we know, and as I said, are the local governments just the lackeys for state? And are the state just lackeys for the federal? So what happens is the globalists can just basically hit any tier of government and then and start making things happen, like infrastructure or whatever they want. That's why I'm doing it.
G'day, Digger, listening to us on the Rumble. Yeah.
G'day, Digger.
G'day, fellas. Love your work. We love your work, Digger. Please, thanks for joining us again, and feel free to send through your questions tonight. I better let everyone know also about Buy Me a Coffee. If you want to head to Buy Me a Coffee and support us, you can. It's just buymeacoffee.com/XCandidates, and a lot of people have jumped on there in the past and donated to us, which is much appreciated. It helps pay for the streaming and everything like that. It's also just a nice little token of their appreciation towards us, which we really like. It's always fun to see that email pop up, to see that someone's sent through some hard-earned dollars and they're willing to give that to us. So thank you for everyone that's donated in the past. And if you would like to donate to us, you can head to Buy Me a Coffee. Also, I'm wearing the new XCandidates t-shirt. How about that?
Looking good.
Yeah. So if you head to xcandidates.t-shirt, I'll bring up the wrong one again. Sorry about that. xcandidates.t-shirts.net.au. You can jump on there and get your own X-Candidates or Commanding the Narrative t-shirt. You can change the colors to whatever you like. If you don't like black, you can make it pink if you want, or blue, or red, or whatever you want it to be. Maybe some people might like orange, but jump on there, and that's another way of supporting us as well. And get your t-shirt.
And you get something cool out of it too, a bit of a t-shirt. And what we're talking about, if you can wear one of our t-shirts and then you get a photo with your local MP, councillor, federal politician, and you can get a photo wearing our shirt and send it in, we'll try and organise like something cool for you, or do something. We'll figure out something with that. So that would just be fun. I think it's just fun to see. I mean, yeah. Stephen and I can wear them and get photos. On the adventures that we have, we can go and get photos with. Probably, I don't know, who could we get photos with? We can get photos with most of them, can't we?
I suppose so. We only need to attend a CPAC or something like that, and
yeah,
it's like going to a wedding or a birthday party. You just bump into all your old friends.
Pretty much, that's what it becomes like in the end, doesn't it?
Well, speaking of which, I need to let everyone know about this big event, this huge forum that we've got coming up. It's the Environment and Energy Forum. It's at the DYRSL, right smack bang in the middle of two teal electorates in Warringah and Mackellar. So fancy us holding this event right there in DY, but we did it last year as well. We're doing it again this year. We've got a big lineup. We've got Senator Malcolm Roberts flying all the way down from Queensland.
I was going to say, is he going to be live, Stephen? He's live.
He's going to be there. And
in the house.
He's going to be in the house. He's going to be mingling with the crowd. If you think you're going to be sitting in a chair all night watching speeches, no, it's going to be a very interactive event. There's going to be ample opportunity for you to mingle with the audience and all the speakers. And a lot of community groups are coming and turning up, and they're going to be having tables and booths and displaying their information. It's going to be like a forum/expo. So Malcolm Roberts will be there. The Honourable Barnaby Joyce, the former Deputy Prime Minister of the country, will be there. Barnaby's always a great speaker. Dr. Peter Ridd will be there. He was there last year and gave a really great presentation. Daniel Wild and Brianna McKee of the IPA, the Institute of Public Affairs, mate. Their work is always fantastic. They just blow it out of the park. I've joined the IPA. I've been a member for almost a year, and they've really impressed me with the information that they send through. So they're going to be presenting. We're going to have a panel on nuclear energy hosted by Paul Vallejo with Tony Irwin of Tony Irwin representing Nuclear for Australia, Dr. Mark Ho, who's the president of the Australian Nuclear Association, and Professor Stephen Wilson, who by all accounts is fantastic when he's giving speeches. So that's going to be really interesting. If you're interested in nuclear energy, that's going to be something that will interest you. And also we're going to have a panel on for the rural farmers and people of the community groups. A lot that I've interviewed previously on Commanding the Narrative, people like Grant Piper, Jim Wilmot, and Katie McCallum. They're going to be doing a panel together. Now, if you watch Katie speak, she's fantastic as well, as with Grant and Jim. So that's going to be a real eye-opener, because there's a lot of stuff happening in rural communities that the city people don't realise and they don't see it. And, of course, to cap that all off, we're going to have a Q&A hosted by Alexandra Marshall. So how about that, Adam? You're going to be turning up?
I'll be there.
Yep. We'll put the link in the show notes. If you want to buy your tickets, you can head to Eventbrite and just search the 2024 Environment and Energy Forum, and it's going to be a huge afternoon. So don't miss out. Jump on and buy your tickets now, and we'll see you there hopefully.
Mate, that looks like a great event. I'm looking forward to going there. And like you said, it's like a wedding. You're just meeting up with people that you already know, and they know you, and you just kind of have a bit of a chat. But I want to just talk about, I think, I'm a little bit biased. I've got probably a little bit of bias in that, but I've got to be honest with you. I really do think that Malcolm Roberts is probably one of the best politicians or most honest politicians in the game at the moment. That's my opinion, just my opinion here. I just feel like out of everyone we've ever spoken to and everyone we've ever dealt with, he's always been the one that really just comes through and delivers. Like, if he says he's going to do something, he pretty much does it. I don't think I've ever been let down by Malcolm Roberts, and I just think, and I think he's actually in it for the reasons why I think, like Stephen and I got involved in politics and things like that, is because, it's for his family, it's for his children. And, and by saying that, it means, like, all families and all children, that, he wants Australia to be, what it was and what it can be, not, what it's being shaped and driven toward now. So I think I'd like to, we're talking about, expressing our opinions and having a non-interviewee night. Well, I just think that I think I got a lot of time for Malcolm Roberts, and I like to listen to what he has to say, and actually pumps me up that he's actually going to be there live, because he does fire up and he speaks well. And remember we were at CPAC last time, and he just got everyone going. It was pretty good. Yep. So he
often gives the best speech out of the whole audience, and personally, Adam, my feelings towards the One Nation Party in recent times, but I always say there's two shining stars in that party, and it's Malcolm Roberts and Sarah Game. I think those two, you can't fault anything that those two do. They're fantastic, and they're far and away above and beyond what politicians should be in this country.
Yeah.
And I wish the whole parliament was full of Malcolm Roberts and Sarah Games, because we'd be in a much better place, I think, in this country.
Yeah. I think Australia needs they've got just a holistic nationalist look, like national look. They just want the country needs to thrive. If the country thrives, then the people of the country thrive. And I think that's been lost now in politics.
Digger says, I've thought that about Malcolm Roberts for quite a while now too, Adam. So there's another person that supports Malcolm and who's agreeing with you, Adam.
Awesome, Digger. Thanks, mate. Yeah. And he just proves it, though. Like, he just does prove it. Like, he just always hammers them. Like, he questions everything and hammers everybody and tries to hold them to account. And it's very hard when you're one person.
He must be at his wit's end. I think I asked him that when we interviewed him last time. It was like, you're going into all these committees and inquiries and you're dealing with these people face to face and they're just completely and utterly trying to just weasel their way out of things. John the boy. Hey, guys, listen to most episodes. Is there any way to stop the digital ID bill? Unfortunately, it's just passed Parliament. So
just
unless you want to vote in a government that will repeal it, that's the only way. Well, there is another way as well. I mean, at this stage, supposedly it's voluntary. So if people don't take it up and they don't adopt it, hopefully it will just die in the vine and go away. Like the COVID app, remember the federal COVID app that they tried to introduce and no one used it and it didn't work, and obviously other things popped up. Tony says, "Do not comply." That's another option. Yep. You got to remember. Look, government. Everyone views government as this big authority, and in a lot of ways it is. But government is only what the masses agree to. It has no authority if people don't agree with the government. And I mean, then obviously you have a revolution. And we're not calling for a revolution or anything. We're not calling for violence or anything like that. But the government needs to be accountable to the people. And I think that's why a lot of people are disillusioned with government, because there hasn't been accountability in recent times. But people need to get active. People need to join a political party or start a podcast or write to your local MP, call their office and say, hey, I'm not happy about this. Why did you support this in Parliament? Tony says keep using cash. Yeah, there's plenty of things people can do to push back. But I think accountability is a huge thing, and that's something that we haven't seen in the last couple of years, the last few years. But the truth does come out slowly, and it does come out eventually. And we haven't heard too much about this here in Australia, but over in America, there's been some revelations come out from the NIH that they were having their own committee hearings, and they've revealed that they were funding gain of function research. So I might play this clip first, and then we'll have a talk about it.
Uh-oh.
Dr. Tabak, did NIH fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology through EcoHealth?
It depends on your definition of gain-of-function research. If you're speaking about the generic term, yes, we did, but this is research. The generic term is research that goes on in many, many labs around the country. It is not regulated, and the reason it's not regulated is it poses no threat or harm to anybody.
Except when you have a pandemic.
Pandemic. When the vial breaks and then the virus escapes. Gain of function. So I remember watching all those Senate hearings and stuff like that in America. Gain of function research was illegal. It is illegal in America, and then they redefined gain of function research what it is to make it legal.
Well, he's obviously trying to cover up for Fauci by saying, "Oh, there's different definitions." No, it's pretty clear. Like, why would you have a term and then it's completely vague? They're trying to obfuscate the issue when it's clear cut they were funding this research. I mean, he can't deny it, and the truth is slowly coming out. But I haven't seen this reported at all here in Australia. This is big news, don't you think?
Well, I think it's massive news. But the thing is, like, it was just like when AstraZeneca last week or 2 weeks ago pulled out of the race with their vaccine. It's the same thing. You know, it's sorry, too late.
Yeah. Well, we better not forget this clip. I'll bring it up. This is Fauci answering a question to Rand Paul. This was a couple of years ago.
Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain of function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain of function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting
China.
a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain of function?
That is
you would
not
be in the minority because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain of function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain of function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So
they
do
write
you still
about it.
support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you
Virology
support
Institute.
sending?
I mean, that looks really bad in light of this recent footage.
They don't invest in gain of function research because they changed the definition of gain of function research, so they could invest in gain of function research. This is the whole thing. It's always a play on words.
It's pretty crazy stuff. I'm putting the link in the chat again if anyone wants to call in. As I said, this is a Ask Us Anything episode. So if you do have a question or anything that you guys want to ask us, we'll give our best shot to try and answer it, even if it's I suppose more personal type of questions or stuff like that. We're not going to shy away from things, but the truth does come out slowly. There's more to this story. I've got another clip lined up here as well. Apparently that they're also, the NIH was looking into deleting their emails.
Just some questions regarding NIH's document retention policies. Dr. David Moran, a senior advisor to Dr. Fauci for decades, wrote in an email to Dr. Daszak, quote, "I learned from our FOIA lady here how to make emails disappear after I am FOIA'd, but before the search starts. So I think we're all safe. Plus, I deleted most of those earlier emails after sending them to Gmail," end quote. Is that consistent with NIH document retention policies?
It is not.
Does the NIH FOIA office teach employees how to avoid transparency?
I certainly hope not.
He also later wrote.
So, there's a saying where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, they're saying we better delete these emails and then we'll be safe. What is that telling you, Adam?
Mate, like we've always said from the start, it's been a massive cover-up. They're trying to cover their tracks in the dirt now, and honestly, it's just getting really, really muddy. I reckon we're going to see some pretty big heads roll soon. Not physically roll, but heads roll, as in like I think people are going to get called out.
Well, they're talking about Fauci being in contempt of the Senate.
For lying?
Yeah. Yeah. So that should be a jailable offence, I think.
Well, if you lie to the Senate, is that on treason?
I don't know if you call it treason, but it's definitely punishable. And I'm pretty sure. I mean, you would think that Rand Paul would call him back in to answer these questions. And I mean, if he's going to just blatantly lie, and like you would have to assume that he was lying based on these recent clips that have come out. if he wasn't lying, how's he going to defend himself? Tony's saying perjury.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I just think that, as I said, I think because, and this is, from when I was, right into it, a year ago, when they changed. I remember seeing a lot of interviews with Fauci, and I know that Rand Paul even was saying that you changed the definition of gain-of-function research. So what happens is when they change the definition, what happens is even though they are actually making a virus, you know what it's like. Gain-of-function means that you take a virus out of one animal and then make it contagious to another animal or the human species, right? So when they've changed the definition, they're working inside the law again. So he can say, no, we're not doing gain-of-function research and that's what he was saying in that thing. That we're not. If you look at that guy on that recent clip, if you're looking at the standard definition, yes, but if you're looking at the definition of it, no, we're not.
Yeah. There was so much from this COVID period that, I mean, what's it been now? Almost 4 years or more than 4 years that it's been. A lot of people say, oh, we've moved on with our lives and there's not an issue anymore and we're over it, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that needs to come out, and people like us were pushing back at the time, and some of us lost our jobs or our livelihoods, and everyone else just says, "Oh, just get over it and move on." But no, I don't think we should. I think we do need accountability, and if it takes 10 years, it takes 20 years. I don't care how long it takes. We need some accountability for everything that happened during that time.
I 100% agree with you, Stephen. What kind of accountability do we need to see, you think?
And look, you got to remember, Scott Morrison, for everything that he did come out and say to the Chinese specifically, he said, we want an investigation of what happened. Why did we have this pandemic? How did it originate? Well, obviously, here's a piece of the puzzle here. I think Scott Morrison was well within his rights to call for an independent inquiry, and it never happened. Richard's bringing up the promised Royal Commission. Well, yes, Anthony Albanese did promise a Royal Commission, and that never happened. Tony says, if we forget, we'll keep repeating it. Well, that's right. I mean, yeah, you keep making the same mistake. So,
well, was it a mistake? That's the thing, Stephen. That's what people are like, kind of alluding to. Was it a mistake? Was this meant to happen? Was this, was this pandemic, right? And people are, I still watch stuff on it, and people are saying it wasn't even a pandemic in the first place, right? The real pandemic came after the injections. And you put me onto that Geert Vender, what's his name? Geert
Vanderbosch.
Vanderbosch. Well, I've been watching some of his stuff now, and I'm kind of like, I'm not all for those, predictions of doomsday and predictions of this and predictions of that. I think we're already seeing the results of what he was talking about in some of his clips. So, Richard's saying that a lie is a lie. Well, it's all a lie, but was it a lie to be planned? Was it a planned lie? Like, was it meant to happen? Was the virus meant to get out? Were we all meant to do what we did? And, were we meant to get injections? Were we meant to, what was the overall point of the whole exercise? I think we need to know.
Yeah, definitely. Look, people will start slowly waking up, I think, and people are starting to change their tune. Tony Nikolic posted this on his Instagram. This is from Sky News.
This was the clip I was watching, sorry.
Because it's been revealed the AstraZeneca vaccine is being pulled worldwide months after admitting it can cause adverse side effects, according to The Telegraph. The company says the vaccine is no longer commercially viable. So if you're one of the millions of people who thought that you were doing the right thing by following the insane rules of the government in 2020 and 2021 and putting this vaccine in your body multiple times, chances are you might be pissed off. If you were living in Melbourne in Australia, one of the most lockdown cities in the entire world, like I was, not only were you told to never leave the house except for an hour a day, homeschool your children, and only go to work if you were deemed essential, you're forced to listen to this hero every day.
They've already talked about the extension of this lockdown a further 2 weeks from this Thursday, but we are strengthening the lockdown as well from 11:59 p.m. tonight. There will be a curfew on advice from the Chief Health Officer from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. each and every day.
It is so triggering. And in 2021, if you were living in Sydney, well, you weren't entitled to the same freedoms as everyone else if you didn't get the vaccine.
If you're not vaccinated, there will be a health order. It will be the law that if you're not vaccinated, you can't attend those venues that are on our roadmap. You can't go into a hospitality venue. You can't go to ticketed events unless you are vaccinated.
What these politicians did to us as a country was divisive. People were shut down for speaking their truth, shamed for daring to question the motives or extreme measures being taken by the government at the time, and the fear that was being drilled into us was happening on repeat. The mainstream media is also to blame here. Rarely were politicians being criticised or properly being held to account, because what we saw on the 6 p.m. news most nights were the lines of the politicians being repeated.
So you can see that the I guess the coverage of it is changing. You wouldn't have seen that. You wouldn't have seen that in 2020 or 2021. It's taken to 2024 for that to happen. So in a way, you have to be thankful that people are changing their tune on it. But do you think it's too little, too late?
I just think, wasn't Sky News also pushing the propaganda as well?
Well, some of them were. I think
some of them were. Yeah. So, like, to me, it's just it is too little, too late, and I think, you know, and I like how she puts it. You know, oh, this is triggering. It's not triggering. It's like it's enraging. It's not. You know, I hate that word triggering. There's some stupid catchwords out there now, but
well, Tony's put a thing on here that says time for employers to pay their share of compensation. I mean, people that lost their jobs essentially for no reason, because they probably made the right decision based on their own health needs not to get vaccinated. I mean, do you think they're entitled to compensation?
I don't see how it's the employer's space to pay compensation. Personally, you know what I mean? Like, I think that I don't see how it's the Australian taxpayers' problem to pay for compensation either. As in, if you took the payments away from employers, and then the government had to pay for compensation, it's not government money. The government makes no money. It's the taxpayer money who ends up having to pay. You know, so it's not fair it's not fair for anyone. Who really should pay? Well, freaking let's make the WEF pay. Let's make World Health Organization pay. They get enough money and donations. Right, they should be paying. Who called?
Well, what about the pharmaceutical companies that put these products in a lot of people? And I mean, I suppose you can't blame them, because they're a company trying to make a profit. And if the governments are stupid enough to say, hey, you can put this product in people and not have any indemnity, and
I mean it's
not be held accountable for whether your product's good or not.
It's bad news for the start. It's bad news from this. This is what I'm saying. Like, there's so many. What happens? It's so complicated from start to finish. Is that who is liable? So, if you're a small business person and have 3 or 4 employees, okay, and you know you're a law-abiding good citizen. Government saying, hey, you all got to have this. We recommend you do this. We recommend you do that. We recommend you do this. Okay. And then when we have like somebody like what do you call it? The Australian Premier. What's the name again? The ex-Premier of Australia, of New South Wales.
Gladys Berejiklian.
Berejiklian, that's the one. I just lost it. Okay, and you're saying, you know, oh, we're going to now have where unvaccinated people aren't allowed to go to work unless they're deemed completely essential, or you're not allowed to go to a pub, you're not allowed to go to a club or a ticketed event. employers are starting to say, hey, well, I've got a business to run. We're struggling as it is to get work, but we've still got work. And you need to have this vaccination if you want to continue working. Otherwise, I'm going to have to let you go because I'm going to have to put somebody else in who's willing to take the jab. It's not really the employer's fault for doing that. You know, so I don't see how an employer should pay compensation for that. I think the employers should have gone, it's all bullshit, and you can work, and we're just not going to worry about it. We'll just make it like you're essential. But not everyone was able to do that. So I don't see how small business employers are really can be held accountable for decisions like that.
Well, someone needs to be held accountable, and I mean, I think Richard was right when he brought up the Royal Commission. I mean, I know it's not perfect, but it's something. Something needs to happen where we really go through this stuff with a fine-tooth comb and
absolutely
put Malcolm Roberts at the head of it. Put Craig Kelly in there.
We've got Professor Ian Brighthurst, right? Hell, get bloody Professor Peter McCullough to come down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? Like, just if we're going to do a Royal Commission, just do it with a bang. The Australian taxpayers got to pay for it anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I mean, that's not the only issue, though. It feels like we get attacked from all sides sometimes.
Yeah.
But Adam, recently, a couple of weekends ago, there was these big rallies, these digital ID rallies that were put on by essentially the One Nation Party. There were other parties that were involved as well. Were very closely linked with One Nation, or you at least were in the past. What were they trying to achieve by these rallies? I mean, the government's trying to do a good thing by this digital ID. I mean, people obviously want this because this is why they're bringing it in. They've come out and they've released this very, very nice glossy website with this nice video that I'm going to play here in a moment. But what was One Nation thinking by having these silly rallies? So let's watch this nice video about the digital ID that we're about to have in this country.
Yeah, let's have a look.
Your ID can be a hassle. Sharing your driver's license, proof of age card, passport, Medicare card, birth certificate, and address details puts all that information at risk of falling into the wrong hands. But there's a solution that makes our lives a whole lot easier and our personal info a whole lot safer. Say hello to Australia's digital ID system. It's a straightforward, safer way of verifying who you are online, putting you in control of your information and providing a secure and convenient way to access online services. Picture this. You're changing jobs, getting a new phone, or applying for a loan. So you have 3 copies of your private information stored who knows where. Good news. In the future, you'll be able to do all of this without sharing copies of your personal ID documents. Wherever you are, no long queues, no paperwork. And once you've chosen and set up a digital ID, you can use it again and again for services connected to the system. Did you know there's already a lot you can do under Australia's digital ID system? Things like using your MyGov ID to do your annual tax return or setting up your access to claim back childcare costs online. In a world where cybersecurity is top of mind, the digital ID system safeguards your personal information and saves you time when you need to verify your ID online. Australia's digital ID system brings together government and industry digital IDs that meet strong privacy and security standards. This will mean more secure digital ID options for you to choose from and more ways for you to use them. So why not join some of the millions of people already verifying their ID through Australia's digital ID system?
Don't you think that's wonderful?
I think it's great. I think it's amazing, and I can't understand why these crazy people at One Nation would protest against it.
This is nutcases, all of them.
Nutcase, right-wing extremists or something, because why wouldn't you want all of your personal information located in one spot where you and no one else will ever be able to hack it or access it at all. And you will have it there so that it's in a digital system, because that way, and you know, doesn't matter if the lights go out, doesn't matter if the internet crashes, because all your information is securely stored. in ways that most people don't even understand. So I can't understand why anybody would be against this, considering the things that happened with Optus. And what was the other one? What was the other big?
There's been a whole host of them. I mean, a whole list of companies. I mean, look, we're having a bit of fun with this, but I think having separate IDs is a safety mechanism. If someone grabs your driver's license, they can't then go and open a bank account because you need 100 points of ID.
It's only 20 points.
It's definitely not 100 points. So having separate IDs actually is an inbuilt safety mechanism, whether we realize it or not. But now that everything's going to be combined in this digital ID, it's open slather. And you know, as Johnny the boy said in the chat, he said it'll be voluntary like the vaccine was.
Yeah, completely voluntary. And you won't be able to go in, unless you're an essential worker, you won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to do shit.
Tony's got a question in the chat. She said, did you guys see the Asthma Foundation's latest initiative to ban wood-burning fires? No, we didn't, but...
I haven't seen that, but I thought they've been going... I was asthmatic, and I think they were they've been trying to ban that for as long as I can remember. I'm sure that they've been activists about that kind of stuff for a long time.
Tony's also got another good comment. Royal commissions should be panelled by members of the community, not politicians or agents of government. Get Kevin on the panel. She means Kevin Lockray. Wouldn't that be fair? Kevin Lockray, Jeff Grimshaw. Just put them all on there.
But that'd be good. But don't forget too, there's only a select few of people who would know what to ask or how to really put these people. Imagine if, I've got to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be good enough to be on a royal commission to ask the right questions to get anything sort of sorted.
Well, it's a serious issue, and Richard's made an excellent point here. He said, if we don't learn from COVID, what will happen when we have a real pandemic?
That's right. Look, can I excuse the French here? I think it'll all go to shit. I really do. A real pandemic where people are really getting sick, and I'm not saying that people didn't die like with COVID, but I'm just saying that I think it was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back in some people's health situations. I don't think it was the actual straw that broke people's back. I think that had a lot of comorbidities or a lot of issues already, and then it was the last one to kind of make the marble penny drop. You know what I mean? So I think. I don't know anyone who died of COVID because of COVID, still to this day.
Well, back to the digital ID, and I think it was Johnny the boy was saying, "What can we do to push back against it?" This is Pauline Hanson in the Senate.
The Australian people have taken on Labor's dystopian digital ID legislation and firmly rejected it. Tomorrow, I will table a petition signed by 65,724 people calling on the Senate to repeal this insidious legislation. I want to express my thanks and admiration for those Australians standing for their privacy rights and the individual freedoms that this legislation seeks to undermine. I also want to acknowledge the courage of the thousands of Australians who gathered in cities around the country on the 5th of May to protest this legislation.
65,724 people signed this petition. That's one way you can push. I mean, that's an incredible amount of people.
And I wonder how long it took for them to get those numbers too. I don't think it took that long. They normally send their petitions out pretty short, like in short time.
It hadn't even passed the lower house by this point. It was going to get passed that day or the next day or whenever it was. So they were very proactive about this. But we just have to keep the pressure on. If you think that it's all over because it's been passed, you need to keep protesting. You need to keep writing into your members of parliament. You need to keep calling them. Call your member of parliament. Say, what's the deal? Why have we got this? Let's see if your member of parliament can convince you over the phone why the digital ID is a good idea. Obviously, they'll give you all the taglines out of that nice glossy video that they made that we just played. Imagine how much money went into making that video.
Well, how much taxpayer money went into that video. And I just think that, you can it's you need to have the conversation. And people, that whole myth about, don't talk about politics. You got to talk about politics. You have to talk about your opinion. Don't be aggressive. Let people have their opinion, and you have your opinion. Okay, yeah. And then
you're going to try and ignore politics. Politics won't ignore you. It will come after you.
But politics is, people say, we don't talk about religion, war, and politics at the dinner table. Well, you should talk about all three of those things at the dinner table. Okay, and then what happens is you should talk about it with your friends and family as well. As I said, in a nice, robust way, just a friendly way. Let people have their opinions. You have your opinions, and what you should do is you try to convince each other over it, because you might learn something and they might learn something. And I know this works, and I know that people are willing to speak about it because, as you know, I go in and out of people's houses every day, all day, every day. Okay, and they see, as soon as they see the signage on the side of my van, are you local government? Are you council? Are you this? Are you that? Oh no, I ran in the state election. I ran in the federal election. Blah blah blah. And they start talking. People want to have the conversation. People want to hear what you have to say about things, and they want your opinion, because people don't know. We learn off each other. So if you're not,
John the Boy says, if all the people that were concerned about this rubbish knew about it, there would be hundreds of thousands of people pushing back. Right. So, I mean, you do need to talk. You do need to tell people about this. You do need to talk about it. You do need to discuss it with people.
Well, we do it every week, so you should tell them about our podcast.
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, obviously, a lot of people try to push back against this digital ID. It is here now, but supposedly it is voluntary. So just don't use it. Just don't
use it.
Don't use the damn thing. Hopefully it just dies on the vine.
So does anyone even know what the stupid digital ID thing is? Like, what do you got to do? Do you actually have to go in and apply for it?
Well, it'll be I suspect it will be an app, just like the director ID was. Now, they did force directors to sign up to the director ID. So, and they were finding directors. I mean, which is abhorrent. I mean, it's just complete government overreach, in my opinion. Tony says
it's not voluntary, then, is it?
No, definitely not. They condition us to not talk about politics in polite society, to make us abandon our obligations to regulate government under our rights to free and open democracy.
Yep.
Yeah. And then she said, okay, that sounds retarded.
It didn't sound retarded. That's exactly what they've done. That's what they did. They made it a taboo topic. Okay? So we can watch, stupid singers on stage vomiting over each other and all this kind of crap, and we can talk about that as much as we want. Okay? But then what happens is, as soon as you say, hey, I don't agree with this, or almost swore then real big. You don't agree with this. You don't agree with this left-wing government policy of digital ID or COVID or whatever the hell it is. Right? And then that's taboo? No, that's not taboo. That's what we should be speaking about. So I think that's my advice.
We got Richard Storch in the chat.
Yeah.
He says, will you guys talk about the budget? Well, Richard, why don't you call in and we can have a discussion about the budget?
Yeah, call in, Richard. You tell us what happened, because I missed it. I'll be honest with you, I missed it. I don't know what's going on with the budget at this point. I have to look it up.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with the budget, I mean, is there anything in it that ever helps us? I mean, we never get more money in our pocket. We never get a tax reduction. If they do tax cuts, they always stuff it up.
Take it from somewhere else. Well, all I know is that a couple of guys from work, okay, they came in and go, yeah, I'm going to get $300. And I'm like, but where are they taking it from? That's taken from there. And then he's like, it doesn't matter. I'm getting a $300 rebate on my electricity bill. And yeah, but you've already cost you 3 times more for your electricity bill every quarter for the past 6 months or whatever it is. So it was 12 months. It's gone up.
It's not like you're getting $300 in your pocket to go and spend on whatever you want. It's going straight to the energy providers. So they'll just take it off.
How do you know that you're going to get a reduction in your bill?
Well,
that's what
there's going to be more taxpayer-funded ad campaigns to let you know every time you turn on your TV or open up your newspaper, hey, look what we've done for you. We've given you $300 back.
all right, so if I spent $1,000 on electricity last quarter, okay, and then I get another bill of $1,000 this quarter, where's my rebate? They're just going to say, oh, your electricity bill is $1,300, okay, and now it's only $1,000 again. How do I know? How do you meter it? How do you know it?
Look, this was just a Band-Aid for Albanese to get out of his election promise that he was going to reduce power prices by $175.
$275.
It was meant to be $175. Sorry, what did I say?
$200. It was
$275. It was meant to be per year.
With our renewable dream.
Well, they never address the elephant in the room. This is why these budgets are. I mean, why would you focus on the budget? I mean, I was saying before, you need to get active. You do need to get active and be focused on these things, but they never address the core problem, which is they need to minimize government spending and reduce the debt. I mean, this is why we have inflation, because they keep throwing money out everywhere. I mean,
look
taking 300.
Harvey MLA. He's had big, significant decreases in inflation since he went through and started cutting government spending.
Yeah. Tony says, take it from your left pocket, put it in your right pocket, and inflation is the new tax. Well, it is. Inflation is a tax. I mean, if you've got $200,000 in your bank account and inflation's going up, that that money's not worth as much anymore. Only one person benefited from the budget, and that's Twiggy Forrest. He's laughing. Well, when you're friends with people in the government and you got lots of money and influence. I mean, this is the problem. It's meant to be government by representation, not just these billionaires that can just lobby the government constantly. John the Boy says, do we have less conservative people in Parliament because of the silent majority, or because the majority isn't anymore? I'm not quite sure what that last, or because the majority isn't the majority anymore. Maybe that's what he meant.
We have less conservative people in the Parliament because of a silent majority.
Fiona says they are wasting our money on climate nonsense. Well, yeah,
I mean, we know that.
I heard today, and I can't verify this because I didn't have time to look it up, but it came out in government papers apparently. So I have to say that apparently because I haven't clarified it, that we're spending $1.9 trillion on high voltage transmission lines alone. So all these renewable projects that they're building out in the bush, solar panels and wind farm or wind turbines, you have to build transmission lines to get out there to hook them up to the grid. It's costing $1.9 trillion, and supposedly the whole move, the push to renewables is going to cost $5 trillion.
Okay, but that's not include? But so what the numbers is that including the infrastructure, i.e., the turbines and the solar panels, the $5 trillion?
Yes. Yeah.
And then what happens when their lifespan is only 20 to 25 years? It's going to be another.
You have to fork out more money to replace them.
So it's $1.9 trillion to wire the network. Now, we know that the high voltage wires and lines, they'll last for a fair while with maintenance and stuff like that. But we know that the wind turbines and the solar panels have a very, very short lifespan compared to a coal-fired power generator or a nuclear power generator, right? So you have to replace the hardware 3 to 4 times in the lifespan of a coal-fired power station or a nuclear power station. Okay, so that means that we're talking about $3.1 trillion of hardware in 25 years needs to be repaid, redone again. That's what those numbers. That's what those numbers mean. And then what? In 15 years' time, or maybe in 80 years or 100 years' time, you got to redo the network again. Another 1.9 trillion.
Or you have circumstances where you have a hailstorm and takes out a whole solar project, solar farm or whatever. I mean, I don't know why they call them farms. It's the most ridiculous term. I mean, renewables is a ridiculous term as well. I don't know why we use their terminology, but I don't know what else to call it. A big field of solar panels and a hailstorm comes and takes them all out, wipes them out and smashes them to pieces. And you have to go and replace them all.
mate. It's a big field of poison and
The
land. It's a big
Snowy
field of
Hydro was
landfill.
meant to be $2 billion. It's blown up to $20 billion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's, as I said, it's just money upon money on money. Imagine if they invested in technology that worked. All that money for the past 15, 20 years, right? They invested in technology that worked. Better coal-fired power stations, better transition to nuclear. You know what I mean? You know, like it would have been, like Australia could have been amazing. Australia could have been
high-speed rail from all the little country towns into the cities. We could have dams. We could have this hybrid Bradfield scheme, drought-proof the nation.
Drought-proof the nation. And don't forget too, that was also a way to create energy too, because as the water was going through the pipelines on that, the pumped hydro, right, it would create energy anyway by spinning turbines.
Tony says lifespan is actually 15 years, and farmers are responsible for the decommissioning any turbines on their land when they are useless. That's a big question. Who brings these things down when they're finished? Total annual subsidy for farmers is $12,000 per unit. Total annual subsidy for the commissioning agent is $600,000. How about that?
Well, the little guy gets reamed again. That's what's going to happen. How much would it cost if they're so expensive to put up? How expensive would they to be bring down?
Well, how do you get rid of the bases? I mean, you see how much steel and concrete and everything that goes into these huge bases. You'll never rip them up. You'll never take them out. They're just got to bury them, cover them over, and then you're gonna have these weird little mounds on your property. How are you going to farm on that anymore?
No, but was it 400 cubic meters or something?
It's ridiculous. Whatever it is,
it's massive mounds. I mean, they don't make bunkers, bomb bunkers with this much concrete. You know, like far out. And you know, and talk about permanently destroying the earth, like that part where that concrete sits. Nothing grows there. Nothing does. You know, it'll have to be covered over with sand, like years of erosion and dispersion. And then it would slowly get covered with mud and sand and dirt and stuff, and then eventually it'll start growing over again. But it would take, hundreds of years for that stuff to come back.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. But everyone thinks that they're saving the planet by doing this.
No, destroying the planet.
Fiona says, and in Victoria, the SRL, Suburban Rail Loop, driverless train to nowhere, doesn't link up to existing rail, not even funded, TBC in budget. But they insist to push ahead. 20-minute neighbourhoods, smart cities, high-rise, high-density, precinct living, nobody wants it. I got a question for you. When was the last policy the government pushed through that people really wanted? Can anyone out there answer that? I had a really interesting discussion with Dr. Frank Salter on Commanding the Narrative this week, and he was talking about the White Australia policy. Now, I think a lot of people would look at the White Australia policy now and agree that it was probably the right idea to abolish it. But he said at the time, it was never taken to an election. It was never voted upon. The Australian people never voted to repeal the White Australia policy. And Malcolm Fraser, so apparently, I'm going to have to look this up to clarify it, but apparently in his book, he wrote that the issue of immigration should never be decided by the voting public because they'll always get it wrong. Can you imagine that? The politician saying that? Like something as significant as immigration shouldn't be voted on by the public?
I think it should be meted as we go. Like it should be a vote for the public because we're the ones who feel it in the end. Sometimes when we need more people to come in, we can say, yeah, we vote for it. So, yeah, we need to bring more people in. But when in times like this where no one can get a house, no one can afford a house, hey, it's time to not let people in.
Yeah. Well, maybe our parliament needs to get like this. I haven't watched this whole clip yet, so I'm going to be reacting to it just as much as everyone else. But this was apparently in a parliament in Taiwan, Adam. Maybe we need to see more of this. Can you imagine, Albanese punching on with Dutton, as John said in the chat, or Chris Bowen throwing punches and left hooks in Parliament?
More like a bit of
Oh, mate, like seriously, and it was all over. The opposition wanted to bring in a bill to have more transparency and also I forgot what it was.
So the politician, if the politician was putting false statements in Parliament, could be criminalised for doing that.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, who's determining? That's where it gets a bit iffy for me, because who's determining what's false and what's not? So, like, if you turn out and blatantly lied and say, "All right, well, I don't know, the sky's red."
But here's the point: they want to put those policies on the public and expect the public not to push back. But if you put them on politicians, they start brawling and fighting in the actual halls of Parliament. How crazy is that? There's women fighting women, and people. That guy that fell on his head probably almost broke his neck.
Yeah,
I mean,
the guy ran out with paperwork.
And Taiwan's not like a third world country.
At least they're passionate enough to fight over things. And
I'm sure if Malcolm Roberts or Senator Babette or someone like that walked into Parliament and said, "Hey, we want to put more accountability on people in Parliament," maybe some people would start throwing punches. Here's a question for you, Adam. Adam, has One Nation changed their policy on not running local candidates?
I don't think they have changed their
council elections, Tony. You mean?
I'd imagine that's for council, that's local. So I'd imagine didn't Craig Kelly came out and admitted and said it in public that One Nation aren't running local council.
Let me see if I can find that.
It's just a little bit too difficult. First of all, concentration, not contravening national law. The council here has the right to make that decision.
Are you going to be running a One Nation candidate at Cumberland Council election, next election?
Look, we're not going to run One Nation candidates at the local council elections. The logistics of it is just a little bit too difficult. First of all, concentrate on the Queensland election, which is coming up in October. Then there's the Western Australian election in the new year. We'll be fielding candidates there. And then, of course, the big one, the federal election, which could be called after the budget, could be called any time. So we'll be ready whenever it's called.
Okay, thanks, Craig.
So I guess there's your answer. One Nation won't be running in the local elections.
No.
So Tony's saying, are you running as an independent? So you addressed that at the start of the show. So
I'm pretty much, I haven't gone onto the Electoral Commission yet and figured out the paperwork and stuff like that, but my intention is to run. We're starting to, get a little bit of momentum happening like behind the scenes. But once I know what my campaign style is like, once it starts happening, it's going to happen pretty quick and pretty hard. So it's going to go. We'll go all out for it once it starts.
And you'll see a change in Adam. You'll see that twinkle in his eye and that big smile come out, and he'll be fired up, and he'll be, be talking about the big issues and fixing lifts in train stations and resurfacing tennis courts.
That's all. It's all part of it. We've already spoken about it. Definitely going to campaign on that kind of thing, because one person who's a candidate, not even has any authority at all, and just knows a few people, can send a message here or there, right? And got so much done, things that didn't get done by people with seated members. And the councillors a lot of the councillors want to help. I think a lot of the councillors do have good intentions, I think. But we're going to lose a lot of good councillors, I think, this election come up, and we don't want the loony left to take over. And I think we've had a good council so far to keep things pretty even keel, and I think that's why I'm going.
John the Boy says, "Will the UAP dissolve at next election?" Well, that's the big question. Whether or not the UAP will run at the next federal election. The talk is that they're not able to, because they deregistered the party, and that means that they can't run at the next election. Now, whether or not Clive Palmer decides to run under another name, or maybe he'll challenge that decision in court, that still remains to be seen. But it seems like the UAP have already lost a lot of their candidates and good supporters. They've moved across to the Libertarian Party or to One Nation.
Yeah.
So what's left, I suppose?
Well, I just think it's pretty. I think it's a poor. They started to really build something, and they had really switched on, like, candidates, switched on supporters, and dedicated supporters too. So I think there was a bit of a tactical error in Mr. Palmer's move at that particular point.
Another question from Tony. Adam, would you consider running with a local party, example, the OLC, which is Steve Christou's party?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that yet. I haven't really looked into it. I've got, I'm not sure yet. I've really just decided to run. I think I've got, I've built up not a great name, but decent amount of supporters, and I've built
a great name in Campbelltown, the champion for Campbelltown.
Well, the fact that people's, a year and a half on, 2 years on since campaigning, and people still recognising me in the street, and still, hey, you're that guy from One Nation and things like that. So obviously something worked along the way.
And he says UAP had some of the best quality candidates? ? She might be challenging your viewpoint there, Adam.
I think they had good quality candidates, right? I think the quality of the candidates were almost as good as maybe the One Nation candidates. I think the One Nation candidates, there were a few standouts that actually had high potential of being, learning the process and moving forward with their career. But I think I know a few of the UAP guys. They were all pretty dedicated, and I think it's more about dedication. And anyone can learn the system, and anyone can learn I think the motivation was there, and they were motivated for good reasons. So, yeah, I think they were pretty decent people, and I think all their supporters were really, really good.
Tony,
there was an accidental question mark.
Yeah, so she's clarified that. So I mean, I agree. I think, from my experience, both the UAP candidates and volunteers and supporters, I know the Libertarian Party has tried to take a lot of those people and bring them into their side of things. But the way that I saw it, I thought there was a lot of unity between the UAP and One Nation, and I think there was a lot of crossover in their supporters and their candidates. I mean, you could take a candidate out of the UAP and plonk him into One Nation, and it would be an easy fit.
We saw that at My Way with Gary Dolan. He was in UAP, and then UAP weren't running in the state election, and he came across for the state election into One Nation for Camden, and was just straight across. like just came straight across because they were very similar. You know, a few different bits and pieces here and there, but it was only minor stuff that were different on.
Yeah. All right, Adam. I think that wraps it up for tonight. Thank you for doing this with me, as always.
Thank you for doing this with me, as always.
Yeah. We've got a big international guest next week, which should be very exciting. I'll release more information about that throughout the week. And also, I should also let everyone or remind everyone about the upcoming forum, the Environment and Energy Forum. Get your tickets.
Yes.
They're only $20. There's no
everyone just buy your tickets, please.
There's
buy
no
tickets.
excuse. Get on the link. The link will be in the show notes. I'll put it in the chat as well. So the link is there. You can find it quite easily, or you can head to the Reckless Renewables Facebook page and find it there. They're putting updates all the time. But as we said in the beginning, you can come and see Senator Malcolm Roberts. He's flying down from Queensland. Barnaby Joyce will be there. Dr. Peter Ridd is also flying down from Queensland. That you can interact with him. There'll be plenty of chances to interact with these people.
And he's a great guy. He's a good guy to talk to. He's funny. He knows his stuff. He's really good as well.
Yeah.
I like Dr. Peter Ridd a real lot.
Daniel Wild will be there. Brianna McKee, they're fantastic. You can trust me on that one. Tony Irwin, Dr. Mark Ho, Professor Stephen Wilson, all talking about nuclear energy. You've heard Paul Vallejo talk about nuclear energy on this podcast before, so you know what he brings to the table. Alexandra Marshall will be hosting the Q&A. She's obviously the online editor of The Spectator Australian, and she also hosts 3 shows on ADH TV. I don't know how she keeps up with all of that.
Well, it's a professional, like she's a real professional reporter. Like she's going to ask some hard-hitting questions. I think she's going to stump a few people.
Well, she might. Also, Grant Piper, Jim Wilmot, and Katie McCallum are going to be doing a discussion. It's going to be hosted by Sandra Burke. All of those are from rural and regional communities. Jim and Katie coming down from Queensland. So we're going to have a big Queensland element to this. It's obviously important enough for them to come down and share their information with us. And look, if you haven't seen Katie McCallum speak before, I mean, I think that's worth the price of admission alone, because she's a real firecracker when she gets going. So I'm probably looking forward to that panel more than any of the other ones. But look, and there may even be some more announcements. There may be another speaker that we've got lined up as well that we can also announce in the coming weeks. Tony says Katie McCallum is a firebrand. I agree with that. I mean, she's going to be incredible, and it's such a pleasure to have her come down from Queensland to join this fantastic forum. So get your tickets. Don't miss out. Whatever you do, please don't miss out. And if you came to last year's forum, you'll know what a great event it was. And Adam, you spoke at last year's forum, so I'm sure you'll head to this one and walk around as a VIP. And
I'll be walking around just to meet and greet people and say good day. Because that last one, remember the speech I did was with the paper bag and busted the paper bag on stage?
You always got a nice little prop to your speeches, which is fun. Yeah.
Bit of a gimmick.
Yeah. But for everyone watching tonight, thank you for riding with us. I hope you enjoyed just the rantings of Adam and I instead of hosting a guest. We might try and do this a little bit more often, just to give us a chance to express our views and opinions as well. And I'm sure as we get closer to election time, council elections in September and federal election looming as well, there'll be a lot to talk about, a lot of issues to talk about. And Adam will be in campaign mode, firing on all cylinders, so he'll be his own firebrand, and that'll be worth hearing Adam's views for those upcoming episodes. But yeah, thank you for everyone that's contributed to the chat tonight, and we enjoyed it, and hopefully we can see you all next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you later.